Hi friends, thanks for joining me. Today I am creating a layout for Hip Kit Club and I am using the July kits. So I am going to use bits of the main kit, embellishment and possibly a little bit of the pocket life. But I'm focusing on the pattern papers this week as we get lots and lots of beautiful papers in the main kit each month. It is really generous with lots of papers and embellishments. So a good kit just on its own if you were just getting one. I'm lucky enough to have all of them, not to make you jealous. Anyhow, this month, or rather in July, the kits are full of exclusive papers to Hip Kit Club, and they were designed by Kim and Kimberly, and it has a real, Indian summer feel to the kit this time, I think. So there are lovely warm colours, pretty patterns, geometric patterns and so on, as well as some for fussy cutting. So Kim and Kimberly know us really well and know what we like. This layout would be a really good one to make once you have made a whole bunch of layouts with your kit. I like to call these kind of things a bit of a bubble and squeak layout because you can take little bits and pieces that you've got left over and make something really pretty with it. So it was a really good way to kind of smash your kit and really stretch it to its limit. And hopefully, as I've been waffling, you can see I've just cut out some of the pattern papers just in random kind of triangular type shapes. Don't be too fussy with them, just cut them off at different angles. And if you can imagine, I'm going for a kind of a sunburst come windmill effect on my page. And I don't know if I mentioned my challenge this week is to use warm colours. So I've picked out all the ones that have some pink or some tones of yellow in them, just to create that warm colour effect. And some of them are quite pale and I wanted them more pinky. So what I've done there is just use some distress ink just to increase the tones of pink. I think I used a sponge sugar for this pale one here. And it just adds that subtle detail, perhaps that you will notice if you look a bit closer. So I do have to faff around a little bit here because I kind of think, oh yeah, that looks great. And then I move it all and forget which order I had them in. So you'll see a bit of that. So on the background, I'm just going to use a bit of ink. So it's not really mixed media. If you want to have a go at this yourself, then you could miss out this step rather if you are not into mixed media at all. I'm going to use some of the lovely shimmers that we get in the colour kit. If you don't subscribe to the colour kit, I never used to subscribe to it. I just stuck with the main kit because I'm not the biggest mixed media person. But I've built up a collection of those shimmers over the months and they are my absolute favourite thing. I know they're a watercolour with a nice shimmery effect, but I tend to worry about how you apply them to the backgrounds and so on. And I never seem to get that fantastic effect that Missy always does. But now, having tried it with shimmers, I find it a lot easier than I do with other mediums, say watercolours or other brands of similar things. And I really don't know what shimmer do in terms of how they make it so much easier to use, but I've fallen in love with them. They're absolutely brilliant. So if you aren't someone who does a lot of mixed media, it would be a good way to try it out. So if you get one of the colour kits 1 month and have a little play, and it might take a few little goes, but I found them so easy to use. And as you can see what I'm doing here, I've picked out some of the yellow and pink tones and I've applied it to some old cellophane packaging. And then I've just laid that down, which you'll have seen before, onto the background. So my advice would be to go light So you can always build up colour, but you can't take it away. And if you can let layers dry in between, then you'll get that lovely watercolour effect. So you could either dry it, just leave it to dry naturally. Mine's on plain white cardstock and no gesso, so it does dry quite quickly. And as you can see here, I've kind of done a couple of smudges at the top, a couple of, smudges underneath, and I've pulled out a photo to work with. I found this index photo in my stash of photos, and I thought it would be a really cute way to document summer because it's a little snapshot of the photos that I'd sent off for processing, and most of them were around summer or late summer. And it gives you the date, and I thought it would be a really cute way of, documenting that whole summer. And what you'll find is I've mounted it onto some cardstock here and some pattern paper. But in the end, I don't use it because there's just too much going on. I think I'll need a quieter page to use the index photo because, as you can see, there's lots of colours on there. And then team that with all the colours of my background paper, and it just kind of got lost. So that was my plan anyway, as you can see. But that's the beauty about scrapbooking, isn't it, really, that you can mix and match and, change things about. It's just to suit you. So I'm just rubbing out my guide that I put down for the mixed media element. I say mixed media, the watercolour. I think for this to work that you really need to overlap some of the papers. And I'm going for that kind of dynamic look, really. So I think as the papers fan outwards, it's kind of giving the page a little bit of energy. I'm just going to play around with some of the fabulous puffy stickers that came with the main kit. Absolutely love these. They're quite big and the great colours again, and just so easy to use. And I really wanted to use lots of them on my page. But in the end, in the final one, I think by the time I put everything down, I think it was getting a bit busy. So I'm just going to have a little play around. I left this in just really so that you could see I'm just a slow scrapper, basically. Those chipboard circles that you can see there within the embellishment kit. And I've just turned them upside down so they don't stick to my page. So I'm going to sew on top of the papers, but I'm just going to tack them in place lightly, so just to keep them in place for my sewing machine. And this would be great again. So I'm going to use a yellow and a pink thread to do the sewing. But you really could just use white cotton, or, if you wanted to go bold, I've done this with black thread. I did some zigzag stitches, some through the centre, some at the edges. You can just go nuts, really. So I think this photo will work much better. It's much smaller. And because it's smaller, I've got more space around it. So I'm just going to fill in a bit of that space. So I think one thing leads to another. And I'm going to use this big sunburst stencil, and I think that's Squeeze Lemonade. I do love a stencil, and I think sunbursts are really on point at the moment, aren't they? But if you're using a large stencil like this with lots of white empty space, you just need to keep it in place with your hands, because if you start at the centre and work your way outwards, you'll get that nice faded look, but you will need to keep it steady as you're brushing. Just to give that a bit more impact, I do like to use a fine liner. I think this is a dark brown or dark warm grey. And I'm just going really, really lightly, and I'm not doing a solid line, so I'm letting the pen skip along the ruler there, just so you've got that lovely, lovely soft feel, but just enough for definition. And hopefully this kind of tells my story a little bit better, that I was going for that sunburst kind of effect. I'm not really sure you get that actually in the final layout. So I think that actually feels so much better to me now. I think it would have worked better with the big photo, the original idea, but because my photo was small, I'd got too much white space around it. And I'm going to use my shimmers again. This is Dandelion. I believe that came out this month. As I say, what I do is I tend to put it all in my little box of goodies. It could be called Sun-Kissed. I put it in my box of goodies, and then you can mix and match then over the months. And I'm going to use some of the Pocket Life cards just to fill out that centrepiece a little bit more. Love the Pocket Life cards for layering. I don't document on the Pocket Life format, but I do love the cards. They're really good quality, beautiful patterns, and of course they coordinate perfectly with your kit. So I'm just going to choose some just to layer it kind of randomly. And what I'm going to do is just pop my photo up a little bit, just so it's a bit proud of the page. I'm just using some kind of funky foam to do that. And I'm going to turn this Pocket Life card into a tag. Absolutely love tags. So if you could use an old tag, I sometimes use an old tag for a template, but I was just literally winging it there, cut a notch off and then matched up the other side. So I'm just going to make sure that is a bit wonky so you can see the papers underneath. And what I'll do is I'll leave the tags and journal card loose so I can put my journaling on. And just so that I can pop those in and out, I'll also pop that up onto some foam tape. And I really like to have those poking out so you can see them both. So now to the fun bit really, which is the embellishing. I think from a structure point of view, I'm really happy how that's turned out. And it's just a case of finding some embellishments that kind of help tell your story. So those words are just really awesome. And I did think, oh, shall I do them at an angle? You know, because the rest of it's at an angle. And it just takes a bit of fiddling around, or is that just me? I always end up fiddling around back and forth with things. I'm a bit indecisive, I think. I don't often scrap with orange, but I love that orange and the pink and the yellow. It really does feel like summer. So I'm just going to use some of those butterflies which came with the embellishment kit. And we've got so many bits and pieces to choose from, and this will be my last one with this kit, so I kind of want to use some more of it up. I've got absolutely heaps and heaps left, as I do every month because they're so generous. And I'm just looking through those die cuts. I think those came with, let me see, did they come with the main kit? Oh, yes, they did. I was just checking. So those came with the main kit, and there's pretty feathers, and I'd really like to use some of the peacock feathers. But I think because I've got such a strong design, I just struggled to add too much more without things just getting lost. I think it would work well on, you know, if down in the white space. Now I was trying not to add my usual design, which was put another cluster of embellishments, so hence I think I didn't use as many embellishments as I was hoping. I'm just going to add a bit more pink because it was ending up looking quite yellow, so I've just watered down some of the shimmers. I watered down. It was from the spray, so you can just flick that straight onto your background there. If you use a wet paintbrush, so I dip my paintbrush into a bit of water, take off the excess, and then use the ink to splatter. I find it's just the right consistency. And as I say, I do find Shimmerz just so easy to use compared to other brands. So I'm not just saying that because it's in the kit, but you know, they really are so easy to use. And what I'm going to do now is just take one of the buttons, the chipboard buttons that were in the embellishment kit. It was a really clever embellishment kit. It was all exclusive. So we had some fabric flowers and chipboard flowers, and then you can kind of build a flower. So they were designed to layer together, and we were given some chipboard buttons which you then could use with those flowers, so you could really get a unique flower. But I do love a button, so you can use them on their own, use them together. You know, it's just really, really clever. And I've just sewn that onto, I've just kind of put some thread through just onto that tag to give it a bit of interest. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of twine now, some little pink twine, just to add a little bit of something to that summer tag. So just trying to, you know, you've gone to all that effort. I want to make sure that you can see the little button and so forth. But it's a really good way to do journaling, as I don't know if you're like me, but I tend not to do journaling on my page. I'm just not keen on my handwriting or just the way it looks, so I tend to do mine more hidden behind the scenes. So really it's just a case of picking out some of the little journal bits and pieces, tiny bits of ephemera, just to finish that off. And so we had so many. So this piece is from the Pocket Life kit, another chipboard piece, absolutely stunning. So there are little labels and tags and little arrows on that chipboard set. Absolutely love them. And I think I could have used a lot more, but I think I was going for that pink. You know, there's warm colours and there were quite a few different blues on there, so that would be a complete fail if I started using some of the colours. So that's kind of more or less it. I'm going to leave you with the close-ups. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and maybe that you like the idea of using up your scrap papers in this way. And I would love to see what you do, so be sure to share it with us on our Facebook group. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope you like the video, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye.